Hello, everyone, and welcome to October's Homeschool Trivia class. I'm Randi Smith from Peanut Butter Fish Lessons, and I'll be doing trivia about oceans today. And below me is...
I'm Melissa Brander from Pocket Homeschool, and I'm going to talk about board games. I'm really excited.
Awesome. And if you looked at my Instagram stories today, you know what our mystery current event is. But I didn't tell anybody else. Hello, Genevieve. So if you've come in, go ahead and say hi. Oh, there we go. It was telling me there were 0 people watching. And I'm like, there's commenters. Okay, we have people here and we're ready to get going. Let's go. Oh, let me first say, sorry, Oceans mini unit study is our free mini unit study this week. So if you've done any of it, you can use this trivia to test yourself. If you haven't touched it, then you can use this trivia class to get inspired. All right, here we go. Which ocean is the largest? So technically all the oceans connect into one big ocean, but it's helpful for people to be able to explain where in the world they're talking about. So we've divided the oceans into 5, or the ocean into 5 oceans. So 4 are here, and then I'll tell you in a minute what the 5th one is. But which one is the largest? The Atlantic Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, or the Pacific Ocean? What do you think? And I will show you a map of all of them in a minute too. And I'm assuming you know this, Melissa, so.
I'm pretty sure I know this, yeah. I was just thinking, for me, it's helpful if I think of a globe when I think of this question, because sometimes on a flat map, the vastness of the oceans get kind of lost. That I did a really I put together like a list of maps and geography resources a while back, and I put some interesting videos on there about the challenges of making accurate maps and the challenges of making globes. And the other day we watched a totally fascinating I can't remember if it was on CNN 10 or The World from A to Z, because we watched both of those. But there was a little piece about making globes, like one of the elite globe makers of the world. And it was really interesting.
I'm going to give you an activity that we did about that in just a second. Okay, so your kids, Melissa, have guessed A and D. We've got a D, a B, and a D. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 families. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in here real quick. The answer is D, the Pacific Ocean. It's also the deepest ocean. So this map is little, but you can kind of get an idea of where the oceans are, and you can see what Melissa meant. When you flatten it out, you end up with part of the Pacific on one side and part of the Pacific Ocean on the other side. So picture that map rolled up like a tube, kind of. And those would meet. The Atlantic Ocean is the 2nd largest. The Indian Ocean, which you see down by Africa there to the right or to the east of Africa, is the 3rd largest and also the warmest. The Southern Ocean you see down by Antarctica, and that's the 4th largest. And then the smallest, it's way up at the top, the Arctic Ocean. In the activity I was going to ask you about, Melissa, we took, it was not my idea, we got out of a curriculum, a grapefruit once, and drew, just real rough, the continents on it. And then we had to cut it and peel it. And you could see how, you drew the continent, but then when you open it and make it flat, it breaks it apart. And then all of a sudden you have all this space there. So that's a cool way to envision what it's like to make a globe.
We did make a paper mache globe once. That's the closest we've come.
Cool. All right. So the ocean has different depths, and I'm going to show you a diagram of them in a minute. But the question is, when you're playing in the ocean, what are you standing on? So is it an ocean basin, a continental shelf, the abyssal plains? These are all 3 parts of the ocean. Or is it a volcano? What do you think you're standing on when you play in the ocean?
This is a fun question.
And we just got to play in the ocean this past weekend. So I was standing on one of these. All right. Ashley's 9-year-old and the Snyder family both say a continental shelf. Is that what I was standing on this weekend? We got an ocean basin and the abyssal plains. Are your boys near you, or are they totally in a separate part of your house?
They're totally in a separate part of my
Okay.
house. And I
Alright.
also, they were not around when I was working on my section of the
Okay.
video.
So
So
they won't give away your
they won't
answers.
give
Okay.
away my answers.
Your boys are split. One thinks an ocean basin, one thinks a continental shelf. All right. Did we get it? I think we got every bit it's been answering. All right. A continental shelf is correct. So if you look at that diagram, on the left-hand side, you see the ground under the water is pretty high, and then it goes, down deep. So these are like the fancy scientific names on this diagram. The one I put in the unit study, I replaced the fancy scientific names with like more common terms like sunlight zone, midnight zone, things like that. But here you can see a little bit of which animals live at different depths in the ocean.
It would be cool to stand on a volcano, though, as long as it was not like actively erupting.
And I was thinking, like, around the Hawaiian Islands, maybe you are standing on a volcano if you're in the water. That's maybe not technically a wrong answer.
Yeah, I was also having the same thought.
All right. What is the most common organism? So by organism, I mean it could be a plant, it could be an animal, it could be a fungi, it could be a bacteria. So what is the most common organism in the ocean? So the first is bristlemouth or light fish. That's the same kind of fish. It just goes by two names. Is it seaweed? That's choice B. Is it plankton or is it coral? What is the most common organism in the ocean?
I actually don't know this one. I don't have
You
the
don't?
first
Okay.
clue. I mean, I have a guess, but I cannot say with any kind of certainty that my guess is correct.
All right. Well, your boys are in agreement right
Yeah,
now. And then they agree with the Snyder family. All right. And then we've got Ashley's 6-year-old says seaweed. Depending where you are, it sure can feel like seaweed is the most common. And then one says coral. And let's see. I forget. Genevieve, do you want to chime in?
This is kind of funny because this morning we were playing a game, a board game, and my son used the word seaweed to his great advantage. So,
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right. And we've got another vote for plankton. So we've got the
that's my
most
guess
votes for
too.
plankton. All right. And that's what Melissa thinks. You are correct. And the interesting thing is plankton is a word that refers to tiny plant and animal organisms that float in the water. So you have phytoplankton are the plants and zooplankton are the animals, but they're teeny tiny. I don't think you can see it with the naked eye, but there are some animals that just like filter feed. They just kind of go through the water with their mouth open and the plankton just like washes into their mouth and that's what they eat. And the phytoplankton is the most like, how do I explain it? The plant on Earth that makes the most oxygen in all of Earth. So it's very, very important that we have plankton. All right. Question 4. Which of the following causes waves in the ocean? Is it the moon, wind, underwater earthquakes, underwater volcanoes, or all of the above? What do you think causes waves? Almost
Do you
said
want
one of
to
the
know
answers.
something interesting? Is I was curious once if waves in the Great Lakes are caused by the same things that cause waves in the ocean, and they are not exactly caused by the same things. So that was very fascinating to me.
I'm assuming there's overlap of what they're caused by.
Yeah,
Like,
some
okay,
overlap, but
okay.
kind of like a bowl tipping around
Mm,
a little bit
mm-hmm,
more than the ocean.
mm.
So that was
I
really
gotcha.
interesting to me to learn.
I gotcha. All right, we've got a choice. Let's see, your boys are in agreement again. That's good. They both say E, and then we've got a B, an E, and an E. And Genevieve, did you want to weigh in? What are you thinking? 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going without you, Genevieve. There she is. What did she say? She said underwater earthquakes. Okay, I kind of gave it away. It's all of the above. So one of these times I need to put all of the above in there when it's not true. So the moon, when the moon causes waves by causing tides. If you picture high tide, if you're ever at the beach and all of a sudden the water's, way high on the beach, that means the moon's gravity is pulling on it. So what the Great Lakes, I'm assuming wind.
Yeah.
And then are you saying like the Earth's rotation?
Yes,
Okay.
it's not tidally affected by the moons like the oceans are. There's a way more
Okay.
complicated scientific
Yes. Yes. I
experiment,
know.
but or not experiment, explanation, but it doesn't have tides like the ocean does.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're simplifying. Of course, if we
Yeah.
wanted to do like college level trivia, we'd have to get a little more detailed. All right, last ocean question. How much of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans? So I give you a little hint with the picture of the globe here. So do you think 50%? That's half. Okay. Do you think half of the Earth's covered by oceans? A little more at 60%? Even more at 70%? Or is it even 80%? So that would be more than 3/4 of the Earth is oceans. What do you think? All right, we got a C, we got a D, we got a C.
It's a lot, no matter how you slice it.
It
Or
is.
I guess to
It
slice it
is.
is not the right word. It's not a pizza.
Mm. All right, let's see. I don't know if Dominic disappeared on us.
Yeah, I can hear that he went to another part of the house to work on
Oh, he
something
got
else.
bored. He's like, "Psh, I'm bored." All right, I was going to see if Ashley's 6. Oh, your 6-year-old did chime in. Okay. All right, we got C's and D's. And C is correct. It is 70% of the Earth's surface is ocean. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to unpresent mine. Now I got to, or do you just share your screen and that bumps
Yeah.
me out?
Yep. I'm
Okay.
working on it right now.
You know what you're doing. All right.
I believe I
Melissa's
know what
going
I'm
to
doing. Yes.
do her trivia about board games, and is because she has a free 31-day board game challenge for you this month. So I'm putting the link here in case you want to grab that. Okay, yes. And then I add you to the stage. There we go.
Yes.
You're up.
And excitingly, also on Instagram, I've also been sharing all the games we were playing
I saw
and
that.
saving them in a highlight. So if you're like, I don't know what game to play, or I want to find some new good game recommendations, I've been sharing everything and trying not to call them all my favorite, even though I love them all.
And one I think I saw was like an old game or something. Like, what was
A
it?
game from
Somebody you
your
find a group.
childhood. Yeah, that
Okay.
you played with, that you as the parent played when you were a kid.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, go ahead with your questions.
All right. So our first question is, which game was invented for children who were recovering from polio? Is it A, Candyland, B, Monopoly, C, Yahtzee, or D, Scrabble? What do you think? Take your best guesses. Do you have a guess, Randy?
I have no idea. I mean, I could make a guess, but I really have no idea. I'll keep my guess till the end.
All right, all right. It was really fun researching to learn about these. I didn't put that in my board game challenge, but I do love good trivia. So it was fun to do some research and learn some more things about games that I played as a kid and that my kids have played um, without, or that I didn't really know about much where they came
Mhm.
from.
That's fun. Let's see. Genevieve, did you want to chime in? You have lots of A's. That was my guess, was A.
It is A. It
Okay,
was
cool.
invented by Eleanor Abbott, who herself had polio. You know,
Hmm.
polio weakens your muscles, so she wanted to give kids something that they could do while they were recovering, and it was introduced by Milton Bradley in 1949. So it's been around for quite a long time. Has gone through a lot of different versions of it. Like the original
Mhm.
pieces were wooden, but now they have like the gingerbread men. So, all
Mhm.
right,
And
here's
it's
our
a
next
fun
question.
one.
It is. Which game was originally called The Conquest of the World? Is it A, The Settlers of Catan, B, Risk, C, Axis and Allies, or D, Trekking the World? And these are all real games, by the way. I
Mhm.
didn't put any fake games in here to trip you up. These are all real games.
Hmm. I've only played one of these games, and it was like once. My husband, no, I can't remember. It's either Risk or Axis and Allies was like his childhood game, and I hear about it, and now I don't remember which one of those two it is. Maybe it was both. Maybe he was into both. I don't know.
I've played two of the games on here. One of them I really want to play, but I have never played it.
I want to play Trekking the World.
Yes, me too. And I think the library has it, but I would have to like drive across town
Oh,
to get it because it's not a library that will let you put their games on hold, which is a
gotcha.
little niche. Uh, all
All
right.
right.
So it looks like, oh, go ahead,
The
Randy.
first one, the first A from Jennifer, that went to the last question. So,
Yeah. So we have
but
some
wait.
B's, some D's, mostly B's, and a D and an A. You B people are right. So
Okay.
Albert Lamorisse, a French filmmaker, designed The Conquest of the World in 1957. Actually, I put it in quotation marks because really it was in French. So The Conquest of the World is
Oh,
its English translation. Parker Brothers would change the name to Risk um, a few years after when they acquired like the rights to it. All right. What is the record for the most points earned off a single word in Scrabble? So this did happen in tournament play. That's why we have a record of it. Not to say that no one has ever spelled a word that was longer in a game at their house, because we don't know this, but
mhm.
in a Scrabble
Right.
tournament, was it A, 75, B, 115, C, 365, or D, 455?
Hmm.
Oh,
All
someone else.
right. I have a guess.
I had to look up how to pronounce the word because I had never heard of it before.
Oh, I'm guessing it has a certain letter in it.
You're
Well, I
probably
guess
right.
one of two certain letters, right?
Yeah. But they have like, it's been a long time since I played Scrabble, right? But there's ways to like double and triple and stuff your score.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. All right. I think everybody's guessed. So I'm going to jump in with my guess. I'm going to say B.
all right. You ready to see? It is C, 365. The word was, hopefully I can pronounce this right because I had to look it up last night. Quickstree, played by Michael
Okay.
Cresta. According to Wiktionary, it means a wild visionary idea, an eccentric notion or act. So,
I'm going to have to remember that word for the next time I play Scrabble.
For the next time you play Scrabble.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what game was commissioned for the 100th anniversary of Milton Bradley? Is it A, Ants in the Pants, B, Barrel of Monkeys, C, Jenga, or D, The Game of Life? And these, again, are all real games made by Milton Bradley. So, which one was commissioned for the 100th anniversary?
Okay. I have a whole unit study on
You
him.
have a unit study on him. I thought you did.
And I'm sitting here going, did we even hit the 100th anniversary already?
We did.
All right.
It was in like 1960.
Oh, man, you're right. It was.
You should link to your unit study so people can learn more about Milton Bradley.
I will. I don't know why I thought he was a little more recent. On the scene more recently. I will put it in the comments. I laughed.
The thing happens is that I accidentally make questions about other things that Randy has unit studies on.
That's okay. I like it.
Without thinking about it.
All right. Do we have?
We got everyone in.
Yes.
Mostly D's, 1 vote for C, Jenga. You guys are right. So, it was inspired by the checkered game of life, which Milton Bradley sold in 1860. Just the name.
Okay.
The guy who invented it, Milton Bradley hired someone to make a game, and he just took the name and called it the Game of Life. But we don't know if the gameplay was anything similar between the two games.
Okay.
All right. Here is our next question. When were the first checkers strategy books purchased? So, books of strategy for checkers, when were they first purchased? Was it A, the 1500s, B, the 1600s, C, the 1700s, or D, the 1800s? I thought this was pretty interesting when I learned it.
Yeah. Thinking, books were expensive. I mean, books are still expensive sometimes today. Hardcover books are still expensive, but I'm thinking books were like a luxury item, right? Back in the day.
And you also have to think about when the printing press was invented.
Yes, I was also thinking about that. All right. Oh, Dominic, your son Dominic's back.
He came back.
All right. I think we've heard from everyone.
All right. So we have every answer except A. Nobody thinks it was the 1500s.
No, I don't
so
think
you
so
said B, the 1600s. Yeah. Before there was plastic, players used other materials for pieces like colored stones or dyed corn cobs. So checkers has been around a long time. And even in the 1600s, people wanted to play the best strategy that they could.
Yes,
That's my last question. I got all these facts from the National Toy Hall of Fame, which is part of the Strong National Museum of Play. They have a really interesting website. If your kids are curious about toys and their histories, they have a lot of interesting stuff on there. So that's just my shout out to them for helping me find these facts.
The Strong National Museum of Play is in the city where I spent my teenage years, and my family is there now. So we took our kids there for years whenever we would go visit them. It's in Rochester, New York. But it's sad because now they're too old and they don't want to go.
It looks like a really cool place. I wanted to go.
Very cool. Yes.
Quite far from my house. So
yes, it is a very cool place. All right. Are we ready for the mystery current event? The elections. We realized that we would not have our next trivia until after the election. So we thought we'd do some voting election kind of trivia today to get you all ready to go vote. All right. So first, let's talk about when. When is election day each year? Is it the first Monday in November, the first day of November, regardless of what day of the week that is, the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, or the last Thursday in October? What do you think?
This is the fun, unrelated election fact, but Canadian Thanksgiving is the second Monday in October.
Yes, because it's the same day as Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. So that's a very busy Monday in October. All right. So when do you think Election Day is? Oh, your kids don't agree.
That's okay.
Which one
Hey,
is the older of the two?
Dominic is.
Okay.
I
All
know that
right.
sometimes when we're doing trivia, he likes to wait and be the last one that guesses in the
Mm.
family because he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want anyone copying his answer.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't been doing that in here. All right, Genevieve, do you have a guess? All right. We literally have every one. I'm assuming you know this already.
Yes, it's
Okay.
C.
So it is C. The Tuesday after the first Monday is how the law is written. It's kind of weird. So basically, it's saying if November starts on a Tuesday, that can't be election day. So it's basically between November 2nd and 8th. I think the 8th is the latest it could be, right? I
I
think
think
so.
so.
All right. So this year it's November 5th. All right. But many states, or maybe all, I don't know, offer early voting. So that is where there might be a few days before election day, even up to maybe 2 weeks before. Actually, I think some states already have started early voting. And the idea is it makes it easier for everybody to get out and vote if they've got a variety of days they can go. So my question to you, how many states offer early voting? Is it all 50? Is it 47 states? Is it 32 states? Or is it only 16 states? What do you think? And I didn't know this till I looked it up. Do you? Do you have an idea, Melissa?
I do not have an idea, but I know that different states have different election rules, and some
Yes.
states have only mail-in voting, which does that count as
Mhm.
early voting or not if you mail it in instead of going to a place on a specific day? I
I
don't
think
know.
so.
I think
I
so
think
too.
so. And Melissa brings up a good point that we're going to talk about a little more in the answer.
Oh,
Is there
well,
are federal laws, like the whole United States, there's laws about voting, but each state gets to run their elections in their own way as long as they're, in compliance with those federal laws. So it can look very different from state to state.
yes.
All right, we got a C, a D, and A, and your kids are there, and a couple more C's. All right. I don't think anybody got the answer. It is B. So 47 states have early voting. Only New Hampshire, Alabama, and Mississippi do not. There's a small handful that has it like 7 days or less. And then the rest of the states, it's more than 7 days of early voting. So we have it it's over 2 weeks. It's like 16 days here in North Carolina. What is it in Wisconsin?
I am trying to remember when you asked this question because I know we have early voting, but unlike you, Randy, I have not yet worked the polls because that is a goal of mine, but it does not work into my schedule currently with like childcare and stuff
Mm-hmm.
when my kids are
Mm-hmm.
a little bit older than I will. So I don't know exactly how much early voting we
Okay.
have, but it is quite a bit. It's definitely more than 7 days.
Yeah, I only know the exact days because I am working early voting this year. So next Thursday is when we start. All right, moving on. We've talked about when you can vote. So who will we be electing this year? I mean, we don't know who will win, but I mean, what positions are we electing this year? Are we electing just the president? Are we electing all the members of the U.S. House of Representatives? Are we electing 34 U.S. senators? Are we electing 11 governors? Or are we electing all the above? Thank you for putting question 3 in there.
Alright.
Oh, sorry. I have an alarm going off on my phone. I forgot to shut it off.
It's okay. It totally happens to me too.
At least it's like a gentle sound.
Yes. And for a moment, I was like, oh, is that my phone? Even though my ringtone, my alarm tone, it sounds different than that. And still, it was like, did it magically change?
Right. All right. What do y'all think? Who are we going to be electing? What positions? All right. We have a vote for the 34 senators. We've got 2 all the aboves. We've got another all the aboves. Another all the aboves. Is that everybody? I think that's everybody,
so.
right? Okay. I did it again. I should have also put like B and C or something like that. It is all the above. So every 4 years, we elect a president. And I learned this trick when I didn't know this till a few years ago. So I'm going to tell you, when it's leap year, that is the year we elect a president. Okay. I
Oh,
think it's a whole extra day to campaign in the year, right? And then every 2 years, every member of the House of Representatives, which is like 435,
35.
okay, is up for election. And then every 2 years, a third of the Senate is up for election. So this year we have 34. And then I had to look up, we have 11 governors up for election. North Carolina, this is our year. We have the same year as president, so our ballot is very, very long. And then in North Carolina, anyways, we have all sorts of other people we're voting on.
Yes.
Voting on Attorney General and the insurance commissioner and like all these people. It's a lot.
It would be interesting to look up and see all the different governor terms because that's a state election and not a federal election. So it's not
Right.
standardized across the
Right.
board.
Are they all 4 years, do you think? Or do you think some even serve a different amount of time?
I don't know because I've never
Guess I don't
considered
know
it until
either.
just that now.
I always assumed it was 4 years, but yeah. Okay. So we talked about who we're voting for, but who is voting? So all US citizens 18 and over, like 18 years and older, I didn't word that well, have the right to vote. But here's my question to you. When was the voting age lowered from 21 to 18? So it used to be 21 and over could vote. And at some point it was lowered to 18. So when was that? 1868, 1920, 1971, or 1993? When was the voting age lowered? And then I'm going to ask you when I show you the answer why you think it was lowered then. So be thinking about why you made your choice. All right. So we've got 2 A's and 2 C's, and we're going to wait. Well, I was going to say we're going to wait for Ashley's girls, but they're already coming in. So, yep, we got more C's.
This year is the first time my husband is able to vote in a presidential
Oh, that's
election
right.
because he just became a citizen last year.
Those people are so fun. I love it when they come in. They're like, "This is my first time voting, so I just became a citizen." Like they are so excited.
Well, he did all. This isn't his first time voting because he voted in like the primary and some smaller elections earlier this year.
He
But this will
became
be
a
his
citizen.
first presidential one.
Gotcha. All right, and then Ashley's other daughter left. Okay, it was 1971. So all the people said C. Why do you think this was? I'm assuming you know why this was, Melissa? Or can make an educated guess?
I can make an educated. I was just thinking about the Voting Rights Act, but that was in the 60s. So I don't know if that's connected. I feel like I should know this. It's somewhere in my brain that I do not remember. Oh. I just remembered. It's because of the draft, right?
Yes, very good. So in 1971, the Vietnam War had been going on for a few years, since 1968. I honestly don't remember when it started. And we had what was called a draft in the United States, which meant that men 18 and older would just get like a notice in the mail that said, like, you are now going to come be in the US Army and go off to war. And so, and at the time, you would be 21 to vote. So imagine you can't even vote for your leaders, but your leaders are telling you that you have to go fight in a war. So that was when they had been trying to get it lowered for a while, but that was finally like the last straw. Like, if you're going to draft us and send us to war, then you need to let us vote for leaders.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I just had to talk through it in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I put other ones. So in 1868, that was the 14th Amendment, that extended the right to vote to formerly enslaved men, only men. Then in 1920 is when women got the right to vote. And then 1993 is just a made up year. Not a made up year, but I don't think there was anything big going on with voting that year. All right. So this is a fun question, I think. Which of the following countries require citizens to vote? It is mandatory that you vote. Is it China? Is it us in the United States? Is it Canada? Or is it Australia?
And I'm pretty sure I figured this one out by process of elimination.
Yes. And it's not the only country in the world that mandates voting, but it's just, one of them. So who do you think requires their citizens to vote? And then we're going to have a question 6. Because, yes, I wanted to talk about how many people vote here.
Oh.
All right. So we've got a B for the United States. We've got a D for Australia. Your boys are split between China and Canada. You're half Canadian boys.
I know.
Then we've got a B for United States. Okay. It is Australia. And if you do not vote, they will fine you $20. So you might decide, like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Many countries. So here's Australia in the black here, that big island that is one of the continents, as well as a country. And many South American countries also require their citizens to vote. All right, bonus question. So since we don't require people here to vote, how many people vote? So it's different every year. It depends kind of like who's on the ballot that year. So let's go back to the last presidential election 4 years ago. How many adults in the U.S. voted? So out of all the people that could vote, not necessarily registered, but could have gone and registered to vote, how many actually voted in the 2020 presidential election? Was it 37%? So just over a third. Was it 49%? So about half. 66%, which is 2/3, or 75%, which is 3/4. Let's see. We forgot to put question 6 here, but your kids, okay. So your kids say it's about half. And then Genevieve and the Snyder say it's 2/3. And
this is like the peak too, right? Like more people vote in presidential elections than any other elections in the U.S.
Right. All right. And then Ashley's girls are split between B and D. So none of your kids are as cynical. So I asked my 15-year-old yesterday this question. She's like, oh, 37%. I was like, wow, you are cynical.
I'm also cynical. I also think it's 37%.
No. It is 66%, but it was the highest since 1900.
Yeah, it's abnormally high. That's why I'm cynical.
There was one statistic, I'm going to get it slightly wrong, so don't quote me, but it looked at like 3 elections, maybe 2018, 2020, 2022, and the amount of people who voted in all 3 was around 37%. So that's more your like person who's showing up every 2 years is the 37%. Yes. All right, and that is it. So this is your reminder to go vote. See if your state has early voting. See who's on your ballot. In North Carolina, I hear our ballot is 20 pages long.
Yes, I like to go during an off time and bring my kids, and then the poll workers always are very excited
Oh,
and
yes, we
usually
love
give
kids.
them like sample ballots and things like that. Sometimes suckers and stickers and
Yes, yes,
it's a good
definitely
time.
take your kids. Poll workers love kids and first-time voters. Send us your 18 and 19-year-olds that may not have a clue what they're doing. We're happy to help them. All right. Thanks for coming to Homeschool Trivia, and you all have a great day.
Bye, everyone.